What if I told you? The biggest difference between a billionaire's office and an average worker's cubicle isn't the leather chairs, the glass walls, or the city skyline view. What if the real secret lies in something far more invisible, something you can't buy but something that changes everything? Imagine walking into two different worlds. One space smells faintly of polished mahogany, where silence feels like power, and every detail screams control. The other hums with fluorescent lights, cheap coffee, and the constant buzz of survival. At first glance, the difference feels obvious: wealth versus struggle. But if you look closer, you'll see something deeper. The billionaire's office is not just about luxury, it's a fortress of influence, a place where decisions ripple across industries. The worker's desk, on the other hand, is a battlefield of endurance, where time and energy are traded for stability. But here's the question that might haunt you. Is it really the office that defines the person, or the person who defines the office? And what happens when you strip away the furniture, the view, the titles, and look at the hidden cost each side pays? Today, let's step inside both doors and uncover the truth. Number 1. Behind the door, what first impressions reveal? What does a door really hide? Is it just wood, glass, and metal separating one space from another? Or is it a barrier between two completely different realities? Step through the entrance of a billionaire's office, and then through the door of an average worker's cubicle, and you'll see worlds that almost feel like they exist on different planets. The rich. For the billionaire, the door is not simply an entry point. It's a threshold into influence. Behind it lies a world meticulously curated to send a message: power, stability, and vision. The air feels heavier, quieter, almost sacred. The walls may be lined with rare art or books that signal wisdom and culture. The desk, massive and polished, dominates the space, not just furniture but a throne. Every detail whispers, this is someone who matters. Visitors feel it instantly. They adjust their posture, lower their voices, maybe even check their words before speaking. The office shapes the way people act before the billionaire even utters a single word. But here's the twist. This fortress of glass and steel often doubles as a prison. The billionaire's identity is inseparable from the space. They cannot enter without becoming the role. Every handshake, every object is part of the performance. Power demands constant reinforcement, and the office is the stage. Now step through the other door. No polish, no grand illusions, just fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, peeling posters of corporate values pinned to the wall, and a desk crammed into a sea of other desks. The average worker doesn't own the space, they borrow it. The cubicle is not a throne, but a cage designed for efficiency. There's no aura of power here. Instead, there's a sense of being replaceable. The coffee stains on the desk, the creaky chair, the stack of unfinished tasks. They remind the worker daily that their presence is about output, not influence. Yet, in this humble space there is resilience. Workers decorate with family photos, postcards, or tiny plants, small rebellions against anonymity. The cubicle may not command respect, but it holds fragments of humanity, proof that even in a system designed for sameness, individuals fight to be seen. Comparison. Two doors. Two realities. One opens into authority, the other into survival. The billionaire's office screams permanence and control, while the worker's cubicle whispers fragility and endurance. But here's the irony. While the billionaire feels trapped by expectations of power, the worker feels trapped by the lack of it. Both doors conceal a kind of confinement, one gilded, one gray. So the real question becomes, does the office empower the person, or expose their prison? Number 2, time is a currency. Who really owns their day? What's more valuable than money, more finite than gold, and more unforgiving than debt? Time. Step into these offices and you'll discover that while both rich and poor trade hours, the currency of time looks radically different depending on which desk you sit behind. The rich. For the billionaire, time is bought, bent, and shielded. Their office acts as a filter, keeping interruptions at bay. Assistants, managers, and advisors act like bodyguards, not of the person but of their calendar. Every meeting has a purpose. Every phone call is screened. At first it looks like freedom. The billionaire decides when to pause, when to strategize, when to delegate. They can carve out hours to think big, to dream, to plan moves that ripple across industries. But behind the curtain there's another truth. Their time is not entirely their own. It belongs to expectations, shareholders, boards, and empires too large to pause. They may own their schedule, but the weight of every second is magnified. A wasted hour isn't just a delay, it's millions lost, opportunities vanished. Paradoxically, the billionaire is both the master of time and its prisoner. The poor. For the worker, time is survival. Every second is already sold, traded for wages before the day even begins. The office clock looms overhead, ticking not just minutes but lifeblood. Arrival times are recorded. Breaks are monitored. Departures are noticed. Here time feels scarce, never enough. There is no space to dream, only to deliver. Each interruption, each urgent task, eats away at energy. And when the day ends, the time outside the office is still consumed by exhaustion, bills, and responsibilities waiting at home. Time for the poor is not currency they can invest. It's wages they can only spend, never save. Comparison. On the surface, the billionaire seems to command time, while the worker is commanded by it. But peel back the layers and you see something more complex. The billionaire's hours may be gilded, but they are suffocating under responsibility. The worker's hours may be undervalued, but they pulse with raw humanity, small breaks, jokes, stolen moments of laughter in the middle of chaos. So, who really owns their day? The billionaire with the power to shape hours but no freedom to waste them? Or the worker who trades hours for survival but finds meaning in the cracks? Number 3. Mental space, the silent luxury no one talks about. What if the greatest luxury in an office isn't the furniture, the skyline, or the view, but the space inside your own mind? What if the richest difference isn't external but invisible? The billionaire's office is designed to protect mental space. Soundproof walls block distractions. Assistants handle trivialities. Lawyers and advisors absorb problems before they ever reach the desk. This insulation creates room for focus, for clarity, for strategy. But protection has a cost. The billionaire's mental space is often filled with high-stakes puzzles. Mergers, lawsuits, betrayals, shifting markets. The silence is not peaceful, it is heavy. A mind shielded from noise is often invaded by isolation, paranoia, and the unrelenting question, what if I lose it all? Mental space for the rich is not freedom, it's responsibility amplified in silence. The poor. For the worker, mental space is constantly under siege. The phone rings, emails pile up, supervisors hover, deadlines loom. Even during lunch, the brain spins, bills, side hustles, family worries. There is no insulation here, just noise, both external and internal. And yet, within this chaos, the worker finds flashes of resilience. They master the art of compartmentalizing, of finding slivers of mental escape. A quick scroll on their phone, a chat with a colleague, or simply daydreaming out the window. Tiny rebellions that create stolen breaths of sanity. Comparison. Here lies the cruelest irony. The billionaire buys silence but fills it with burdens, while the worker is suffocated by noise but sometimes finds freedom in scraps of distraction. Both long for what the other has, clarity or escape. So, is mental space really a privilege of wealth, or is it the rarest treasure always fleeting no matter where you sit? Number 4. Pressure and power, the weight of responsibility. Who really carries the heavier load, the billionaire with an empire on their shoulders, or the worker with survival pressing down every second? At first glance, power looks like liberation. But step inside both offices and you'll see that power and pressure are inseparable twins. The rich. Inside the billionaire's office, the weight is invisible but crushing. Every decision carries consequences measured not in hours but in millions. A single yes or no can decide whether thousands keep their jobs, or lose them. On the surface, power appears intoxicating. The billionaire sits at the center of the chessboard, commanding moves. But the pressure is relentless. Markets shift. Competitors circle. Investors demand. Even allies can become threats. The billionaire's office is less a sanctuary and more a war room, where every phone call may be a battle waiting to begin. And beneath the surface lurks fear, the fear of decline, of irrelevance, of losing everything built. The higher the tower, the stronger the winds. The poor. For the worker, the pressure is immediate, tangible, and personal. It's the rent due next week, the medical bill hidden in the drawer, the child's tuition form sitting on the kitchen table. Each paycheck is stretched thin, each mistake could cost the job. The cubicle is no war room, it's a survival station. The worker does not command industries but navigates the constant pressure of being expendable. One wrong move, one missed target, one round of layoffs, and their entire world could collapse. Comparison. The billionaire's pressure is measured in billions and influence, while the worker's is measured in bills and existence. One fears disappointing shareholders, the other fears disappointing children. Both live under pressure but the currency differs. So, who really carries the greater weight? The one responsible for thousands of livelihoods, or the one fighting desperately to preserve their own? Number 5. Survival mode versus strategy mode, two very different games. Are the rich and poor really playing the same game? Or are they trapped in entirely different arenas, one focused on survival, the other on strategy? The rich. For the billionaire, the office is a command center for long-term vision. Every conversation stretches beyond the present moment: expansion, acquisitions, innovation. Their mind lives in the future, building structures that will stand decades ahead. This forward-thinking mindset creates the illusion of freedom. They can afford mistakes, absorb risks, and recover from losses. Their office is filled with charts, projections, and whiteboards, tools to shape tomorrow. But strategy mode has its own trap: the inability to live in the present. Each day is consumed by what's next. Success becomes an endless horizon, always just beyond reach. The poor. For the worker, the office is not about building empires, it's about making it through today. Survival mode dominates every decision. Will the paycheck cover rent? Can overtime fill the gap? Should lunch be skipped to save money? The worker's cubicle rarely allows them to think long-term. Ambitions are buried under deadlines, urgent requests, and the grind of immediate necessity. The brain can't plan years ahead when it's busy calculating which bill to pay first. Comparison. The billionaire plans decades ahead while the worker plans days ahead. One plays chess on a global scale, the other plays checkers against the clock. Yet both face limits. The rich are shackled by endless ambition, the poor by endless necessity. So, who is truly free, the strategist with no present or the survivor with no future? Number 6. Relationships inside the office, allies or obstacles. If you want to know the truth about an office, don't look at the furniture, look at the relationships. Who do people trust? Who do they fear? Who do they lean on when the weight becomes unbearable? The rich. In the billionaire's office, relationships are strategic, often transactional. Colleagues are allies but also competitors. Partners can be powerful but also dangerous. Trust is rare, loyalty conditional. The higher you climb, the lonelier the room becomes. Even friendships carry shadows. Does this person care about me, or about my power? The billionaire shakes hands daily, but often leaves the room wondering who is truly on their side. Yet, in this desert of suspicion, there is also deep reliance. The billionaire needs advisors, lawyers, confidants. Every relationship becomes a calculated balance between dependence and caution. The poor. In the worker's cubicle, relationships look different. Colleagues share the same struggles, trade the same complaints, laugh over the same coffee machine. Camaraderie is survival. A friend at work can be the difference between despair and resilience. But even here, trust can fracture. Promotions spark envy. Overtime shifts create tension. Supervisors become both gatekeepers and threats. The office becomes a fragile ecosystem where allies and obstacles blend. Comparison. For the billionaire, relationships are networks of influence. For the worker, they are lifelines of humanity. One struggles with too much power, the other with too little. Both wonder, who's real and who's not. So, in the end, whose office is truly more crowded? The billionaires with advisors and rivals, or the workers with allies and fragile bonds? Number 7. Creativity and control. Whose ideas survive? Whose ideas truly matter? The billionaire with endless resources to execute them, or the worker whose creativity often suffocates under layers of approval? The rich. In the billionaire's office, creativity is not only encouraged, it is funded. They have teams ready to brainstorm, experts who turn visions into blueprints, and capital that transforms dreams into reality. On the surface, it seems like an endless playground of possibility. But power brings control, and control can suffocate creativity too. Billionaires often face a paradox. Their ideas are heard but not always challenged. Subordinates may agree out of fear or flattery. And when no one dares to say no, innovation risks becoming echo chambers. In their glass towers, creativity is vast but also isolated. Yes, the billionaire has freedom to dream, but the higher they climb, the fewer voices they trust to sharpen those dreams. The poor. In the cubicle, creativity is a fragile seed. Workers spark ideas daily, ways to improve processes, cut costs, make things better. But these sparks rarely survive. They're drowned in bureaucracy, dismissed by managers, or crushed under the demand for speed. The poor worker's creativity must hide in the margins. Quick hacks to save time, clever shortcuts, or small solutions shared between colleagues. Their innovations may never make headlines, but they often keep the system running when everything else fails. Comparison. The billionaire's creativity is loud, expansive, but vulnerable to isolation. The worker's creativity is quiet, hidden, but raw and authentic. One shapes industries, the other saves days. So the haunting question remains, whose creativity truly matters? the one backed by billions or the one born from necessity? Number 8. Health and stress, the hidden toll of each office. What is the real cost of sitting behind that desk? Is it the billionaire's sleepless nights or the worker's exhausted body? Behind every office door lies a toll, and it's one that money can't completely erase. The rich. The billionaire's office may look pristine, but inside, the body and mind are often under siege. High-stakes decisions spike adrenaline, chronic stress corrodes the nervous system, and long hours erode sleep. The office chair may be ergonomic, but it can't protect against the burden of constant vigilance. Yes, billionaires can afford private doctors, luxury gyms, and wellness retreats. But health isn't just about resources, it's about peace of mind. And peace is rare when entire fortunes hinge on your signature. Anxiety becomes a permanent shadow, whispering, "Don't lose it all." The poor. For the worker, stress takes a different form. The cubicle is often a place of physical strain, stiff backs from cheap chairs, headaches from fluorescent lights, exhaustion from overtime. Add to that the stress carried in from outside, bills, debts, obligations. Unlike the rich, workers cannot buy relief. Healthcare is expensive, time off is risky, and mental health often goes untreated. The toll is both visible and invisible, tired faces, strained bodies, and a quiet, constant weight pressing down. Comparison. The billionaire fights invisible battles of stress and paranoia, while the worker fights visible battles of exhaustion and survival. One pays with peace of mind, the other pays with body and time. So who really suffers more? The one with endless resources but no rest, or the one with no resources and no escape? Number 10. Freedom versus constraint, the final divide. Who is truly free, the billionaire sitting high above the city, or the worker buried in the cubicle maze below? Freedom seems like the prize of wealth, but when you peel back the layers, the truth is far more complicated. The rich. For the billionaire, the office represents control, or at least the illusion of it. They choose when meetings start, when deals are signed, when opportunities are seized. Freedom appears abundant. They can walk out of their office and onto a private jet, turning the world into their workplace. Yet constraint is woven into that freedom. Their decisions bind them. Their empire depends on their constant vigilance. They cannot simply disappear, too many rely on them. The billionaire may seem free, but they are tethered by responsibility, by reputation, by the fear of falling from the top. The higher they rise, the fewer exits exist. The poor. For the worker, constraint is obvious. Arrival and departure are dictated by the clock. Tasks are assigned, breaks are timed, promotions are rare. The cubicle walls are literal boundaries. Freedom seems non-existent. And yet, there are fragments of liberty. The worker can laugh freely with colleagues, leave work behind at the end of the day, or reinvent themselves outside the office. Their power may be small, but their humanity allows moments of choice the billionaire cannot always afford. Comparison. The billionaire's freedom is vast but fragile, bound by invisible chains of power. The worker's freedom is scarce but sometimes pure, found in the small rebellions of ordinary life. So who is truly free, the one with power but no escape, or the one with little power but glimpses of peace? Perhaps freedom is not about offices at all, but about the courage to live beyond them. Clapperboard conclusion. So, what do we really find when we step inside these two offices? At first, the contrast feels obvious. Wealth against struggle, luxury against necessity. But the deeper we look, the more we see that both sides are fighting invisible battles. The billionaire's office may shine with glass walls and marble floors, but inside, it carries pressure, isolation, and the fear of losing everything. The worker's cubicle may feel small and replaceable, but inside, it holds resilience, dignity, and the strength to endure. The real difference is not furniture, salary, or skyline views. The real difference is time, mental space, and freedom, the currencies that money can bend but never truly buy. And here's the haunting truth. Both the billionaire and the worker are trapped in their own cages. One gilded, one gray. One filled with pressure from the top, the other with pressure from the bottom. So maybe the question we should ask ourselves isn't, which office is better? But rather, what does freedom really mean? And if you had to choose, would you prefer the weight of endless power, or the quiet fight for small moments of peace? The answer may reveal more about you than about them.